I woke up choking, not metaphorically, literally choking on my own breath, like death didn't want to let go so easily. For one ugly, panicked second, everything blurred. Hospital walls, sterile lights, the distant sound of a monitor flatlining, and then it all collapsed into darkness. I should have stayed dead. Honestly, it would have been extremely on brand for me. But no. Life, or the universe, or maybe whatever cosmic customer service representative handles misdelivered souls said, "Oops, return to sender." And here I am, breathing again. But not in that cold hospital room. Not in the fragile, ruined body that wasted away because no one bothered to care until it was too late. I was in my old bedroom, teenage room, high school posters on the wall, ugly curtains my mother insisted were tasteful, the faint smell of synthetic lavender, because God forbid anything human exist in this house. I sat up so fast my vision pulsed black and white, my hands, smaller, smooth, not skeletal, my chest, not knifed with pain, my legs, not trembling with weakness. I wasn't dying, I wasn't even sick, I was 18 again. Great, I died once, now I get to do puberty twice. Truly, fate hates me personally. I stared at my reflection in the mirror, round cheeks, messy hair, wide eyes, too wide, hopeful eyes. God, what a loser. That hopeful kid, me, would spend years begging to be loved, begging to matter, begging anyone, especially him, to see me. He'd never see me. Not once. Not Raphael. Not my oh-so-perfect stepbrother. The golden son. The alpha with the immaculate jawline and immaculate reputation. The heir. The prodigy. The disappointment-proof trophy child. He loved everyone except the fragile omega burden fake attached to his life by marriage law. Me. He gave me cold smiles. Cool commands. Sharp mockery disguised his brotherly teasing. And ignoring. So much ignoring. Not the casual kind. The surgical kind. He ignored me in ways that carved me hollow. I spent my entire first life trying to fill that hollow with his attention. I died still wanting it. And now? Now fate throws me back into the starting line, like one of those stupid romance novels where tragedy becomes a poetic second chance. But here's the problem. I don't want a second chance. I don't want romance. I don't want poetic anything. I want survival. So I looked at my own juvenile face reflected in cheap glass and said, I'm not going to beg for love again. Not from family, not from him. No more crying in bathrooms. No more wondering what I did wrong. No more rehearsing conversations in my head like a pathetic audition for someone's affection. This time around, I'll be a nightmare instead of a tragedy. Not loud, not dramatic, just emotionally unavailable and questionably sarcastic. And if Raphael expects me to trail after him like a needy puppy, he's in for a spiritual awakening. I didn't plan some dramatic debut, no cinematic moment with thunder and violins. I just walked downstairs to the kitchen because dying didn't cure my desire for pancakes. The morning sun hit the marble floors, casting everything in that expensive, sterile glow rich people love because it hides how dead they are inside. I poured juice. I drank it. I existed. 10 seconds into my quiet existential breakfast, the kitchen door opened. Raphael walked in, still tall, still beautiful in that infuriating, aristocratic way, like a myth sculpted into a school uniform. His hair was still messy from sleep, jaw shadowed, expression lethally bored. He smelled like winter, an expensive shampoo, and everything my body remembered wanting. He stopped when he saw me, not visibly startled, because he'd rather swallow knives than show surprise, but something flickered in his gaze. The same gaze that once made me unravel because he never looked at me with anything other than mild irritation. In my past life, I would have lit up. I would have beamed like a starved puppy finally noticed. This life? I raised my glass lazily because dramatic entrances are exhausting and said, morning, neutral, civil, not worshipful. Then I walked past him without waiting for acknowledgement. Not because I'm emotionally stable, but because I'm committed to the bit. Behind me, I swear the air shifted, like I'd yanked something out of his chest without warning. I didn't look back. I didn't run, trip, apologize, or ask him about his night, his mood, his breakfast preferences, or whether he still hated me. I just kept walking. Polite smile. No tears, no longing, No collapsing internal monologue. If Raphael wanted my attention, he could chase it like everyone else. Spoiler. He wasn't expecting that. The door didn't close. Feet didn't move. Silence didn't fill with indifference. I could feel it. His confusion. Like a gravity shift. Like he'd prepared for a dance and I refused to take his hand. I didn't look back, but I imagined him standing there thinking, wait, you're supposed to want me. Because that's what I always did. Every day, every second life offered. Not this time. I left him in the kitchen with his existential crisis and my empty juice glass. Small victories are victories. The house was quiet later. Too quiet. I could hear him in his room. Low music, faint footsteps, the sound of a book closing. I passed by, unseen. The thin crack in the door letting me glimpse his silhouette. Sitting on the edge of the bed, elbows on knees, head bowed. A posture I'd never seen before. Too human, too vulnerable. Raphael wasn't vulnerable. Not in my first life. Not ever. He was composed, controlled, careful, even when he was cruel. He never broke, never bent, never wavered. So seeing him like that, unbalanced, thoughtful, oddly lost, made my skin prickle. I should have kept walking, but I lingered because I'm nosy, and trauma doesn't erase curiosity. He spoke softly, unaware anyone could hear. Why does it feel like he took something from me? My heart did a weird thing, like a glitch, an error, a forbidden spark. I hated that. Because that should have been my line. I was the one robbed, of love, of time, of life, not him. I leaned closer, guiltless, because spying is cheaper than therapy. He lifted his head, eyes distant, voice lower. Why won't you cry for me again? I stopped breathing. Again? Not because the words were romantic. They weren't. They were messy and selfish and broken. And he said, again? Which means he was also reborn. He didn't know he'd said it out loud, which means he'd never say it on purpose, which means something had cracked inside him the moment I stopped performing. The tragedy? Part of me wanted to laugh. Another part wanted to cry. And a tiny traitorous fragment whispered, so you did notice me, just not the way I needed. I backed away before he sensed me, before I got sentimental, before the irony could crush me. He wanted my tears, my pleading, my devotion. He missed the version of me that shattered at his feet. Too bad. That version is dead. Literally, medically, legally. Reborn me has priorities, revenge, pancakes, emotional detachment, maybe get abs in that order. So I left him alone with whatever existential meltdown the universe had drop-shipped into his brain. He would figure it out eventually. Or not. Either way, I wasn't here to babysit his emotions, not anymore. And if Raphael wanted answers or validation or tears, he'd have to earn them. And I bet he won't like how that feels. Because this time, I don't chase. Family breakfasts in this house are not meals. They're political briefings disguised as omelets. The long mahogany table could seat 20, but only 5 chairs were occupied. Father at the head, mother on the right, Raphael on the left, me somewhere down the table like a mildly inconvenient houseplant, and 2 silent servants orbiting like anxious moons. In my first life, breakfast meant me smiling too brightly, laughing too loudly, trying too hard, waiting for someone, anyone, to see me. It meant being a dog asking for scraps. This time I sat back, sipped orange juice, and insulted people politely. Which honestly is better for digestion. Father glanced at me startled when I didn't greet him with my usual high-pitched, "Good morning, Dad." Instead I said flatly, "You're late." The fork stopped midway to his mouth. He blinked, slowly, like his brain crashed and needed a reboot. "Excuse me?" he asked, voice cold. I shrugged, unbothered, breezy, borderline suicidal. "You're late. Breakfast starts at 8. It's 8:15. You always lecture Raphael about punctuality, but I guess the rules don't apply to you, so..." Mother snapped, "Junho!" I turned to her with a perfectly innocent smile. "Yes, Mother?" "Don't be disrespectful." I tilted my head. "Right, sorry, I forgot honesty is considered terrorism here." The servant pouring tea snorted, like actually snorted, then froze in horror. I winked at her. Father stared at me like I'd grown horns. Mother looked vaguely offended, like my existence hurt her eyes. Raphael. He didn't look away. He was watching me the way predators watch a flame, curious whether it will warm them or burn them alive. I ignored him, which was the boldest, riskiest move of my entire undead career. Past life Junho would have been bouncing in his seat, performing joy like a circus monkey, waiting for Raphael to acknowledge his stupid existence. This life me? I buttered toast with the resignation of someone recently reincarnated and severely done with everyone's bullshit. Mother tried a new tactic, the passive-aggressive sigh. So, you're cheerful this morning. Translation: You're acting weird, stop it. I said, I'm medicated. She choked on air. Perfect. One of the servants approached to replace a plate. She whispered, Your hair looks nice today, young master. I placed a hand over my heart, serious. Thank you, Jennifer. Someone around here appreciates emotional depth. Jennifer blushed. Father glared. Mother hissed. I sat back, satisfied. I used to weaponize sweetness to survive. Now I weaponize sarcasm to cope. Progress. Raphael didn't speak through any of it. He just stared. Not with hostility, not with disdain, with hunger. Like something had been starving inside him, and I'd unknowingly started feeding it. I kept chatting casually with the servant girl, cute, bubbly, beta, probably 1 year older than me, while Raphael's stare grew heavier, sharper. I made a joke about the wallpaper color, depression beige, and she burst out laughing, real laughter, warm, delighted. I grinned at her, leaning in, conspiratorial. Raphael's jaw flexed. I didn't look at him, but I felt it. The ripple of emotion, possession, jealousy, uncertainty. 3 emotions he probably didn't know he was capable of. Father cleared his throat violently. Junho, you are unusually talkative today. I took a sip of juice. Therapy. They taught me coping mechanisms. Turns out humor is cheaper than homicide. Mother gasped softly. Jennifer squeaked. Raphael made a sound, barely audible, like a laugh strangled before it formed. I pretended I didn't hear it. I wasn't performing for him, not anymore. But when I turned to speak to Jennifer again, I caught the softest murmur from Raphael's side of the table. Barely audible. Not meant for me, meant for himself. He used to look at me like that. I froze for half a heartbeat, not visibly, not dramatically, but internally, an earthquake. He missed it. The attention I used to fling at him like a broken offering. He missed the version of me who believed his coldness still meant something. He missed being the center of my stupid, desperate universe. And now he wasn't even in my orbit. I stood, plate untouched. I'm done. Thanks for breakfast, capitalism. Father snapped, Sit down. I smiled sweetly. No thanks, I have things to do, places to be, people to disappoint. And I walked out. No one stopped me. But I felt Raphael's gaze burn between my shoulder blades. Hot, possessive, bewildered, hungry. I wasn't 3 steps down the hallway before fingers wrapped around my wrist. Not rough, not violent, just unavoidable. Raphael pulled me into the recess of a doorway, shadowed, empty, far from parental eyes. He stared down at me. Too close, too tall. Still wearing that cold, perfect expression, like life wasn't eating him from the inside out. Are you angry at me? Direct. Unexpected. I blinked. Not angry. Just tired. He frowned like that word offended him. Tired? I nodded, leaning against the wall. People get tired? Tired from what? I gestured at the house. All this, existing, pretending, being everyone's emotional support mascot. He didn't answer. His eyes tracked my every micro-expression. You don't look tired. I snorted. Yeah, well, I don't cry for people anymore. I hydrate. His lips twitched. A real, honest reaction. Not mockery, not condescension. Just genuine amusement, the kind you can't fake. You're still funny, he murmured. I blinked. I hadn't expected that. You're still dramatic, I replied. Something flickered in his eyes. Not arrogance, not anger, something softer. Interested. I never realized, he said quietly, that I enjoyed your sharp mouth. I stared at him. What? He stepped closer. One breath away from stepping inside my pulse. I don't miss the crying, he said. I miss the fire. The part of you that burned. I had no comeback for that. Not a funny one. Not a bitter one. So I defaulted to sarcasm, as usual. Flirting in the hallway is bold for someone who's never flirted in his life. He huffed a quiet laugh. I'm trying, he admitted. And that was scarier than any cruelty he'd used before. His trying. For me. I took a step back, heart pounding in treacherous ways. Don't. It'll ruin my bad attitude. His eyes warmed. I like you like this, he said. Dangerous? No, he murmured. Alive. I didn't know how to breathe after that, so I did what any emotionally unstable Omega would do. I escaped. I have homework. I started walking away, but before I got far, he called after me. Junho. I froze. Slowly, I looked back. Raphael's expression was unreadable, but his eyes, they said too much. Don't avoid me. I forced a smile. I'm not avoiding you. I'm avoiding emotional consequences. And I left him, confused, frustrated, hungry, good. Let him starve a little. Years earlier in my past life, I didn't remember this firsthand. But memory is a cruel archivist. It keeps the things we try hardest to burn. Father's voice echoed down the hall. Selling him is the only logical option. Omegas are expensive, useless pets unless you profit from them. Mother didn't argue. She never argued. She only sharpened knives. A young Omega consort could bring political favor, she said. 14 isn't too young if the partner is discreet. My stomach turned, now even as I remembered it. That boy they discussed like property. Me. A commodity. A bargaining chip. A warm body with a market value. Raphael had stood between them. Between me and a fate worse than death. He'd snarled, he's unstable. Crying, needy, clingy. No one wants damaged goods. Father sneered. That's your fault. You coddle him. Raphael's voice had been cold as winter when he answered, Better I coddle him than you sell him. Mother scoffed. You're too soft. Love makes you stupid. Raphael didn't flinch. Maybe. But cruelty makes you monsters. They didn't listen. Of course they didn't. So he changed tactics. He destroyed me. Publicly, systematically. He made me undesirable before they could make me valuable. He hurt me before they could sell me. He took every cruel word, every rejection, every humiliation, and turned it into a shield. A shield that broke me, but saved me. In his mind, that was a fair trade. He never knew what it cost. He never saw me cry myself sick every night, believing I was too pathetic to love. He only saw me alive. He thought that was enough. He thought love was sacrifice, not safety. And I died believing he hated me. He lived believing he saved me, and neither of us was right, or wrong, just broken. There is a peculiar satisfaction in being socially likable when people used to treat me like a defective houseplant, not adored, just tolerated. Which, trust me, is a major upgrade. I was talking to 2 classmates in the courtyard, telling a story about how our physics teacher looked like he hadn't slept since the Cold War. They laughed, genuinely. Not because they were afraid of being impolite, but because I was actually funny. I smiled back, easy and soft. It wasn't a performance, not a plea, just conversation, and I could feel it immediately. Eyes on me, not friendly, not casual, predatory, him. He leaned against the railing a few yards away, arms crossed, expression unreadable, gaze fixed on me with a level of intensity that would make a wild animal reconsider its ecosystem. In my first life, if I so much as breathed in his direction, I'd cling, apologize, blush, and combust. This time, I waved 2 fingers lazily and returned to my conversation. The two classmates asked if I'd be at the club fair later, because apparently, delightful personality is now a social commodity. I said something cute and sarcastic. Only if there's free food. I'm shallow like that. More laughter. He pushed off the railing with that slow, predatory movement he always had, like a lion deciding whether to eat something or just intimidate it for sport. When I finally walked away, he followed. Not close enough to be obvious. Close enough to be inevitable. He didn't say anything until we'd put enough distance between us and the courtyard. Then, low, possessive, quiet. You're mine to annoy, not theirs. I blinked, not because of the possessiveness. I'd always suspected he considered me property, but because of the tone. Not angry, not arrogant, just hungry. I shrugged, keeping my stride casual. Relax, it's not a competition. There was a silence. Then, his voice, rough. I'm losing. I stopped walking because my brain short-circuited. I turned, eyebrows raised. Losing what, exactly? His eyes dropped to my mouth, then flicked up. No hesitation. You. I rolled my eyes so hard I swear I saw heaven. You never had me to begin with. His breath caught, barely audible. I walked off, refusing to look back. Not because I won, but because I didn't know how to deal with the fact that I kind of wanted to. For someone who is allegedly superior in every evolutionary category, he is terrible at being normal. He started doing things, small, weird, earnest things, like offering rides after school. I didn't need a ride, but he blocked the passenger door and said, "It's cold." I pointed out I owned limbs, and jackets, and a functioning ability to tolerate minor inconvenience. He stared at me like I just confessed to murder. Another day, he left snacks on my desk. Protein bars, expensive ones, with minimalist packaging that screams, "I pay for gym memberships and emotional detachment." I stared at them, touched, but I wasn't stupid. So I said, "Thanks. This is weirdly thoughtful of you." His shoulders relaxed like I'd handed him oxygen. Later, he awkwardly asked about school. Not grades, not achievements, just, "Are you doing okay?" No condescension, just concern. The kind that would have destroyed me in my previous life because I would have mistaken it for affection. I swallowed, kept my tone light. Doing fine. I survive on sarcasm and caffeine. Works wonders. His answer was low, honest. I don't know how to talk to you when you don't need me. It wasn't a complaint. It was an admission. A weakness. I shrugged. Then talk to me like a normal person, without assuming I'm going to fall apart if you don't supervise my breathing. He blinked, like the concept had never occurred to him, which, given his personality, is probably accurate. He kept trying, and failing beautifully. He walked me to class without explanation, carried my books without asking, stood slightly too close, like usual, but now with hesitation. Uncertain whether the gravity that pulled him toward me was allowed anymore. He was quiet most of the time, letting me set the emotional temperature. Every attempt at kindness was clumsy, like a wolf trying to be a house cat. I didn't reject it, but I didn't reward it either. Not with need, not with yearning, just polite distance. It drove him insane. He wasn't used to trying for affection. He wasn't built for it. He was built to protect, dominate, control. Affection? That was uncharted territory. He watched me laugh with others, classmates, staff, even those ridiculous juniors who thought I was cool now. And every time I smiled at someone else, soft and effortless, I could feel it. His jealousy bleeding through his skin. Not loud, not explosive, just a quiet ache, possessive, confused. I never thought I'd see him jealous of something so small. Attention. But maybe attention means more to people who don't know how to ask for it. Maybe I wasn't the only one starved. I didn't remember the gala scene fully from my past life. Trauma has a way of editing footage. What I remembered was being dressed up, being told to behave, wondering why my mother looked so satisfied, feeling dizzy, then nothing. Until waking the next day with a fever and nausea, while he sat beside my bed with a cold cloth and cold eyes. I thought he poisoned me, to humiliate me, to hurt me. I cried, begged to know what I did wrong. He didn't answer. He just said, "Stay in bed." I thought that was punishment. It wasn't. I didn't know the truth until much, much later. but I know it now. In the first life, the gala wasn't a celebration, it was a showcase, a discreet auction, where Omega heirs were displayed like luxury livestock to interested buyers. I was 14, and rare, and beautiful, and naive. New scent still unclaimed, heat cycles predictable, no attachments, prime product. Mother planned to reveal my scent publicly, just enough for potential bidders to notice, not enough to cause chaos. Father would negotiate afterward, a transaction, a transfer, a disappearance. I would have been shipped to whatever wealthy bastard offered the highest bid. No future, no consent, no agency, no escape. He found out. He warned them, argued, threatened. They refused. They told him to play along, smile, act proud. He didn't. So he did something drastic. He drugged the punch. Not enough to harm me. Just enough to make me too sick to attend. He let them believe the sabotage came from me, that I ruined the important night with my Omega tantrum. Father punished me, verbally, psychologically. Mother scolded, mocked, belittled. He stood back, arms crossed, silent, cold, and I hated him for it. I wanted him to defend me, comfort me, explain, apologize. He didn't, because if he admitted what he did, they'd no longer see me as an embarrassment. They'd see me as an asset again, a commodity worth selling. He needed them disgusted with me, permanently. So he let me believe the worst. Let me cry, let me blame him. Let me think he chose hatred over kindness. But in his head, the justification was simple. Better he hate me than be owned by a stranger. And I get it now. I do. But understanding doesn't erase the damage. Doesn't undo the nights I sobbed into pillows, wondering why someone I loved seemed to wish I didn't exist. Doesn't erase the way I learned to interpret silence as violence. He saved my body, but he broke my heart. Love doesn't feel like protection when it looks like cruelty, and cruelty doesn't feel noble just because it's purposeful. He thought pain was an acceptable price, if it kept me alive. But he never asked me if I wanted a life built from suffering. He just decided, because that's who he was. Not a villain, not a hero, just someone who loved wrong. Too fiercely, too violently, too quietly. Someone who believed sacrifice meant silence. Someone who thought martyrdom was tenderness. Someone who never understood the difference between saving me and hurting me to do it. When I see him now, staring at me with that lost, hungry expression, unable to understand why I won't rush to him anymore, I don't feel vindicated. I just feel tired. Because I know something he doesn't. The only thing harder than surviving love that hurts is surviving love you still want, even after it ruined you. The garden behind the house is the only place that almost feels like mine. Not because anyone gave it to me, but because no one else cares about flowers unless they can be sold, displayed, or used as bargaining chips. I sit on the stone bench under the red maple tree, pulling petals off a rose and committing symbolic murder. Therapy is expensive. Petals are free. I hear footsteps before I see him. Slow, controlled, predatory. If footsteps could glare, his would. I don't look up. Looking up implies permission. He stops in front of me, blocking the sunlight, because of course he does. A low voice asks, "Why don't you look at me anymore?" Beautiful, direct, terrifying. I respond without raising my head, "Because I don't want to want you. That's all I've ever done. And you never wanted me back." There. Honesty, unfiltered, slightly suicidal. He inhales sharply, like I stabbed him with words. Then, "That's not true." I laugh. An ugly, bitter, hysterical sound I didn't know still lived inside me. I finally look up, meet his eyes dead on, and say that again without looking like you're in physical pain. His jaw tightens, not because he's angry, but because he's trying not to be. His eyes flicker. Shame, fear, longing, something unnamed. He sits beside me, careful, like I'm fragile, which is hilarious considering I've survived death, neglect, in high school. I pluck another petal, flick it away. He watches my hand, not the flower. Me. Quietly, he says, "I wanted you so much it ruined me." I freeze, petals midair. That is too much, too direct, too late. So naturally I say, "Gross." He huffs out a laugh, pained, amused, frustrated. He rubs his face with both hands like he's trying to erase himself. I don't help him. For years, I let him exist in my head like a god. This time, he can live with the discomfort of being human. The quiet stretches between us, thick and uneasy. Not hostile, just heavy, like a truth waiting to collapse. He speaks first, voice rough. You were the only good thing in this house. I blink, not because it's romantic, but because it's tragic. He folds his hands, staring at the ground like it's responsible. The only person who looked at me like I weren't a monster. The only person who wasn't afraid of me. The only thing I couldn't lose. I should say something sharp, clever, defensive. I don't. I just ask, why did you push me away then? He doesn't hesitate. Because I had to keep you safe. A laugh escapes me. Dry, humorless. Safe from what? Feelings? Eye contact? Your personality? His answer is quiet. Too quiet. Safe from them. There it is again. Them. The faceless plural that ruined both our lives. I ask softer. Safe from what? I'm terrified of the answer, but I ask anyway. Before he can speak, before anything tender or cruel spills out. Someone hollers from the patio, calling his name sharply, urgently. He stands immediately, shoulders tense. Of course, someone interrupts the emotional plot twist. Life is badly written, he murmurs. Later. I roll my eyes. Wow, suspense. How dramatic of you. He smirks. That small, reluctant thing he does when he's charmed by something he shouldn't be. Before he leaves, he touches my wrist lightly, not possessive, not forceful. Just a ghost of contact. Barely a second. Barely anything. Except my heart reacts like it's been tasered. Pathetic organ. As he walks away, he looks back once. Eyes dark, unreadable, not longing, not regret. Something stranger. Like hunger. Like recognition. Like fear of losing something he never admitted wanting. And I sit on the bench, surrounded by the corpses of flower petals, trying to regulate my breathing. Because the universe is sick for pairing tragic trauma with sexual tension. Memory is cruel. It resurfaces when least invited. I'm not back in the garden. I'm in that room again. That night. Not a child. Not quite adult. Just prey. The house is quiet. Too quiet. Someone had dragged me into Father's study because he wanted to discuss something important. Red flag. Anything important in this house is usually illegal or traumatizing. He sits me in a chair, smiling, a snake smile. He holds a glass vial between his fingers like a prize. He says something like, "This will help you reach your potential, make you more appealing, more valuable." I don't understand until he opens the vial. Heat suppressants smell chemical. Neutral. This doesn't. This smells like rut. The air thickens, electric with hormonal intent. My stomach turns. I shake my head. Say no. He grips my jaw. Hard. He growls, "You're an Omega. Do your job." I struggle. He tightens his grip. I think I'm going to vomit. Then everything explodes. He appears, not calm, not aloof, but wild. He grabs Father's wrist. Twists. There's a snap, a scream, a sound like bone popping out of a socket. Father collapses, cradling his arm, swearing murder. I'm gasping, shaking. He stands between us, a shield, a wall, a hurricane. Father spits venom. Protecting the cheap Omega bitch? He doesn't move, doesn't flinch. Just says, voice even, "Touch him again and I'll break more than an arm." Father snarls, "You think you're noble?" He replies, "No. I think I'm tired of watching you play God with someone who's already terrified." It should have ended there. It didn't. Father stands breathing ragged. He says, "Fine. You want to protect him? Pay for it." He lists conditions like laws, cold, clean, final. He will be labeled worthless, mocked, humiliated, broken. He will be known as emotionally unstable, stupid, clingy. And he will never know anything else. Then Father says, "And you will be the one to do it." Shock steals my breath, but he doesn't protest, doesn't hesitate. He just says, "Deal." I think I stop breathing. Father smirks, delighted. Always amusing when sacrificial sons are so obedient. Martyrdom looks so good on you. He doesn't speak. He doesn't drag me away, doesn't comfort me. He just stands there, silent, resolved, dead-eyed, understanding the cost, willing to pay it, not for glory, not for praise, for me, bruised, pathetic, weeping me. Father spits blood at the floor. Get him out of my sight. He doesn't touch me, just flicks his head toward the door. I follow, stumbling, confused. Outside, I choke out. Why? He answers without looking at me. Better you hate me than be owned by a stranger. I don't speak. I can't. My voice is gone. So he keeps walking, leaving me shattered, protected, and alone. Now and present, back in the garden, sun sitting low behind the trees, my head pounds with memory. I try not to cry, because crying gives the universe too much power. But I whisper to the empty air, "You could have told me." Silence answers. I imagine him years ago, watching me crumble, believing it was worth it, believing pain was a fair price for safety. And now he looks at me like he lost something precious, something fragile, something he didn't know how to hold. He once saved me from being consumed by monsters. But he became one in the process, not cruel by nature, cruel by necessity. And he still doesn't understand the irony. He protected my body. He destroyed my heart, not because he hated me, but because loving me came with consequences, ones he chose to carry alone. I pull another petal, flick it into the wind, and I whisper, half laughing, half breaking, "I don't know whether to forgive you or punch you in the mouth." The wind doesn't answer, but I can almost feel him thinking it, somewhere behind me, somewhere inside that guilt-ridden heart. I'd let you do either if it means you stay. Later, dinner is a battlefield with linen napkins. The table is big enough to seat a war council, but tonight it holds only 3 people and 2 ghosts. Me, the people who biologically contributed to my existence, and the silent specter of generational trauma. I'm halfway through stabbing my roasted vegetables when the head of the table clears his throat. It isn't a casual sound. It's the sound someone makes before they commit emotional manslaughter. He announces it as if mentioning the weather. A wealthy alpha wants a marriage alliance. To me? I stare, blink, then say, mildly, "I thought I was too worthless to sell." This earns me one of his looks, a mixture of annoyance, disappointment, and disbelief that sarcasm came out of the defective model. He answers, clipped, impatient, "You're more valuable when you don't cry." Ah, so my emotional evolution increased my market price. Fantastic. Capitalism really is powerful. I consider asking if they're planning to move me in a shipping crate or bubble wrap me for transport, but I don't think he has the capacity for humor outside cruelty. Across the table, someone's jaw clenches. Hard. The air shifts in a way that makes my pulse jump. It's not anger, it's threat. Low, simmering violence, the kind that means someone is about 3 seconds from flipping the table and burning the estate down. I don't look at him. Not because I'm brave, but because acknowledging the intensity might turn it into action. The head of the table continues speaking in business terms: wealth, status, political gain. All the reasons someone might sell livestock, not marry a family member. I raise my hand like a student trying to get a bathroom pass. Quick question. Is this like a legal marriage, or the kind where I get fed to a corporate omega farm? Because those are different experiences. Silence, dead, suffocating silence. Then cold, blunt. It's a beneficial union. You'll do your duty and... I cut him off. You mean become a broodmare? He doesn't deny it. Of course not. In this house, honesty isn't a virtue. It's an exploit. The silence stretches again, until he speaks in a tone that is harshly calm. This is not negotiable. Before I can craft a witty retort designed to get me grounded, imprisoned, or disowned, someone stands abruptly. Chair scraping, breath harsh, muscles coiled tight. The room freezes, eyes burning, voice low, deadly. He won't marry him. There's no name, no explanation, just raw authority, predatory certainty. The head of the table narrows his eyes, challenging, "It isn't your decision." A quiet, lethal reply, "It is when you're trying to sell what's mine." My fork clatters, not intentionally, just reflexively. I didn't expect that word to hit so hard. Mine. It echoes through me like a heartbeat. He doesn't look at me, not yet. He keeps his gaze locked on the man who gave him a family name and a reason to hate humanity. And for a terrifying second, I wonder if violence is about to happen in the dining room. Not poetic ballroom duel violence, but bone-breaking, plate-shattering violence. The head of the table smirks, triumphant. You don't get to choose for him anymore. Quiet reply. I never did. And then, softer, bleak, broken in the edges. I just didn't want him to die. I stop breathing, not because it's romantic, but because it sounds like confession, regret, grief. The weight of years collapses across the table. And suddenly, the food tastes like ash. I barely make it out the door before he's on me. Not violently, just urgently. Rough hands pull me into the hallway, into shadows and silence. Back pressed against the wall, chest to chest, eyes so close I see storms in them. Not anger, fear, hunger, desperation. A voice, low and wild, says, I'm not letting anyone else have you. I blink. Then, because I am emotionally damaged and comedic under pressure, I respond, Relax, I'm not some collectible figurine. He doesn't laugh. He doesn't move. His breath shudders. His hand presses against the wall near my head. His voice, soft, dangerous. You're the only person I've ever loved, and I don't know how to stop. I freeze. The world tilts, breath stolen. That word, love, not want, not desire, not lust, love, messy, painful, impossible. My mouth opens, but no sound comes out. It's almost funny. He spent years saying nothing while I drowned in feelings. Now he says everything, and I'm the one mute. He leans in, forehead resting against mine, eyes closed like prayer. He whispers, I don't know how to love gently. I only know how to love like a war, and you're the only battle I ever wanted to win. I swallow, hard, then force myself to speak. Why now? He doesn't pretend not to understand. He answers honestly, because I thought if you hated me, I could survive it. But if you leave me, his voice breaks, not loudly, quietly, like something fragile snapped deep inside him. I don't know who I'll be. I want to make a joke, deflect, shield myself. Instead, I whisper, Why do you care now, when you never cared before? He flinches, not physically, emotionally, like the truth cut deeper than any insult. He exhales, shaky. I cared. I always cared. I just couldn't show it. I laugh, brittle. Then congratulations. Your emotional inaccessibility almost got me sold tonight. His eyes close, not from shame, from pain, real, palpable pain. And suddenly, I can't breathe, because I don't know what hurts more, his cruelty then, or his devotion now. Memory doesn't always return in images. Sometimes it returns in sensations. Cold tile, sterile light, the smell of antiseptic weakness in my limbs, a weight in my chest. I'm back in that hospital room, not officially a hospital, just a private sterile place where inconvenient children go to expire. I remember being sick. Very sick. I remember asking for help, being ignored. I remember the head of the table saying, he wants attention, not treatment. I remember her saying, a weak Omega is better off dead. I don't remember the illness. I remember the abandonment. I remember the ache of being disposable. He fought. Of course he did. I didn't know that then. I know that now. He argued, demanded, threatened. He tried to force treatment. They threatened him back. They said if he interfered again, they would institutionalize me permanently. A facility, not for recovery, for disposal. They described it clinically. Isolation, sedation, permanent placement. Somewhere no one would see me decay. There was no release date, no return, no sunlight. Just a bed, a drip, and silence. He froze. Then he backed down. Not because he stopped caring, because he realized the truth. Saving me might destroy me worse than the disease. He stayed by my side, every day, sat in the chair next to my bed, silent, guarded, helpless. I remember whispering that he didn't care, that he hated me. He didn't correct me. He just whispered, please don't leave me. I didn't understand what he meant. I thought it was pity, not love. I died in his arms, starved of warmth I thought didn't exist, while he repeated, broken, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please don't go." But I didn't hear him. I was already gone. What I didn't know was that in the final seconds, he slipped a golden bracelet around my wrist, a family heirloom, a relic whispered about in hushed, superstitious tones. Something passed down from his grandfather with a promise and a curse. This will return the one you love to life, but it will take half of your own. He pressed the metal to my skin and whispered a vow like prayer. "I won't let you go." And the bracelet responded, a faint pulse of heat, a shimmer of light beneath my cooling flesh. Even after knowing I would never know he gave his half-life to me, he still did. Now in present, we end up in the old sunroom, the one with chipped paint, mismatched chairs, and a window that always sticks halfway. Appropriate place for emotional dysfunction. Half open, half trapped, aesthetically damaged. He closes the door behind us, quiet but deliberate, like preparing for war. I don't give him time to prepare. "You let me die." His breath catches like I slapped him. Not physically, emotionally, which is so much more satisfying. He doesn't look angry. He looks wrecked. He tries speaking once, fails, and then manages. "I couldn't save you without losing you. They would have locked you away. I chose giving you freedom over keeping you alive." I fold my arms, not defensive, cold. He steps closer, not looming, not predatory, just unbearably earnest. I regret it every second. I tilt my head, smile thinly. Tragic, romantic, stupid. His answer is immediate, almost relieved. "All three." He doesn't move, doesn't touch me, doesn't attempt comfort, which is frankly character development. He stands with his fingers curled tight around himself, tension coiling through his muscles like he's physically restraining an instinct. The instinct to hold me, protect me, claim me. I hate how much I feel it. I walk past him pacing because sitting still when talking about my death feels absurd. "You talk like you made some poetic sacrifice, like letting me die was noble. It wasn't noble. It was cowardly." His head snaps up, not defensive, haunted. "If you had lived, you would have hated me more. They would have kept you drugged, locked away, silent, empty, and I would have been forbidden to see you." I scoff. "So you're saying dying was my happiest option?" He winces. "I'm saying it was the only option that didn't erase who you were." My voice breaks into a laugh, sharp, bitter, deranged. "Congratulations. You saved my personality." He looks at me like I'm both hilarious and heartbreaking. "I did a terrible thing for a beautiful reason. That doesn't make it right. I know that now." I stop pacing. He meets my gaze. Steady, unflinching. His voice softens. "If I could choose again, I'd save your life, even if it cost me everything." I raise a brow. "You didn't think that before." He swallows. "I didn't realize losing you would break me more than anything they could do." Silence. Heavy, ugly, tender. I hate this conversation. Because I don't want pity. I don't want tragedy. I want simplicity. And there is nothing simple about us. I mutter under my breath, "You're such a disaster." He answers quiet, "I was made one." We don't talk for a minute, just breathe. Then he steps forward, slow, cautious, like approaching a brittle creature. His hand lifts, pauses in the air, waiting for a permission I don't explicitly give. But I don't pull away. So he cups my face in both hands, warm, calloused palms against my cheeks. His thumbs brush lightly, reverent, not possessive, not hungry, just gentle. His voice drops, low and earnest. "I spent years wishing you'd look at me the way you used to." I raise a brow. "Like you were the sun and I was a moth with brain damage?" A small, broken laugh escapes him. "Yes, that exactly." He leans closer, not kissing distance, just heart distance. Quietly, he murmurs, "And now I finally deserve the way you look at me now." I blink. Hard. Because I don't look at him with adoration anymore. I look at him with recognition, with history, with wounds, and sometimes with want. And he calls that deserved, which is the most aggressively romantic thing anyone has ever implied. Naturally, I ruin it. You're so dramatic. Did you practice that in the mirror? He smiles, slow, embarrassed, proud. Only for you. I roll my eyes. Gross. He doesn't let go of my face. He just leans his forehead against mine, breath warm, voice quieter. I was cruel to keep you alive. I am gentle now because I don't have to hurt you anymore. My throat tightens. Because that's not an apology, it's a promise, and promises terrify me. His thumb strokes my cheekbone. Not sexual, not even romantic, just human, soft. Then he drops his hands as if releasing me takes more strength than holding me. Chaos doesn't knock in this house, it barges. The door swings open. A figure standing in the doorway, expression tight with irritation disguised as authority. A cold voice declares, "I've been informed you're sabotaging the engagement negotiations. That ends now." He steps forward, sharp-eyed, vicious. "If you interfere again, he will be removed from this house permanently." Removed, not relocated. Removed. My stomach drops. Removed means facility, cage, sedation, disappearance, not marriage. I freeze. Breathing stops. My pulse spikes so violently I taste metal. I whisper, "I don't want to go." It isn't dramatic. It isn't poetic. It's small, bare, terrified. I don't want to be locked away again. I don't want to be invisible. I don't want to disappear. He steps in front of me instantly. A wall of body and violence. His voice is cold steel. He isn't going anywhere. The head of the table smiles thinly. "You can't stop me." He answers without hesitation. "Try." It isn't a threat. It's a declaration of war. His body is rigid, every muscle coiled, every instinct sharpened. He turns his head slightly, just enough for me to hear, "You won't. Not this time." My breath shakes, because it sounds like a vow. Not defensive, not desperate, certain. He faces his father again, voice unshaken. "If you move him, I will expose everything, every illegal deal, every exploitation, every bribe, your career, your network, your reputation, gone." For once, the man looks rattled, just a flicker. Then anger slams back in. "You're willing to destroy everything for him?" He doesn't blink. Yes. No hesitation, no shame, just truth. The head of the table's eyes narrow. "Then you're more foolish than I thought." He replies, calm, deadly. "Better foolish with him than powerful without him." My knees nearly give out, not because he's defending me, but because the version of him who would sacrifice me is gone. This one would sacrifice himself instead, and I don't know how to live with that. The head of the table leaves with a hard slam of the door. Silence explodes. I stare at him. He meets my gaze. Not intense, not hungry, just present. He repeats, softer. "You won't go anywhere, not while I'm breathing." My voice shakes. "You can't promise that." He steps closer, eyes steady, voice steady. "I can and I will." A pause, then quieter. "I lost you once. I won't survive losing you again." I try to joke, reflex, defense. "You're so dramatic." He smiles, sad, soft, wrecked. "Only for you." I sigh. Because I don't want this story. I don't want tragedy. I don't want danger. But I want him, even if it kills me again. Family dinners are torture chambers disguised as table settings. Crystal glasses, expensive china, candles flickering over polished mahogany, romantic ambiance for emotional warfare. We take our seats like pieces on a chessboard. Father at the head, mother beside him, and him across from me, watching, as always. Tonight feels worse. Tight. Electric. The air tastes like something is about to shatter. Halfway through silence disguised as a meal, Father clears his throat. "Never good," he speaks with satisfaction. "The engagement contract has been finalized. Papers will be ready by morning." I stare at my plate. Mother smiles thinly, already mentally spending the political capital. I grip my fork, hard enough to bend. Across the table, someone pushes their chair back slowly, the scrape loud enough to slice through conversation. When he speaks, his voice isn't raised. It doesn't need to be. Cold, measured, lethal. He's not available. Everyone freezes. Mother blinks like she misheard. Father turns, expression darkening. Excuse me? He steps forward from his chair, not towering, just steady. He's not available. Cancel it. The head of the table scoffs. This is business. You don't get to... He cuts in, voice slicing through the air. I am. And then, Father asks the question that detonates the room. Are you claiming him? Silence crashes. My breath leaves my body. He doesn't hesitate. Not 1 second. I always have. I choke on air. No one reacts at first. Everyone is too stunned. I definitely die. Internally. Violently. My face heats so fast I'm surprised the candles don't flicker in embarrassment. Mother sputters. Father's fury tightens the air. But I want to crawl under the table and also maybe launch myself into space. There he stands, calm, deadly, and apparently romantically suicidal. Father's voice is ice. Explain yourself. He does. He is mine. He always has been. You don't sell what belongs to me. I choke again. Someone should Heimlich me, but nobody has emotional CPR training. Father slams a hand down. This is not a mating declaration. You are stepbrothers. The alpha fires back. We aren't blood, and I don't care what word you use. Mate, consort, lover, property, partner, I'm not letting anyone else have him. The table could crumble and I wouldn't notice. My heart is too loud, too exposed, too stupid. Father seethes. You think this is love? He doesn't flinch. I think this is truth. I want to throw myself off the balcony, not because it isn't what I've wanted my entire stupid life, but because he just announced it at family dinner. Public execution of my emotional stability. Father dismisses the meal with venom. I escape. Run, actually. And he follows. Of course. I end up in the back hallway near the library, pretending to breathe. He finds me, quiet as a closing door. I don't look at him. I just say, blunt, you used to make me cry every day. The words cut between us like glass. He doesn't deny it. He answers softly. I thought keeping you from loving me would keep you safe. I bark a laugh, dry, sharp, bitter. Did it? He replies immediately. You died. So no, it didn't. The hallway feels smaller. I can hear my heartbeat and his. Same rhythm, same ache. Silence settles. Not comfortable, but necessary. Then quietly. I'm doing it differently this time. I scoff. What, by announcing a mating claim over tapas? He almost smiles. If it protects you, yes. I rub my face, exhausted. You turned my childhood feelings into mockery to protect me. And now you're turning my adulthood into spectacle to keep me safe. He steps closer. I'm trying. Badly, but trying. I don't move away this time, because beneath the madness there is sincerity. Terrifying, reckless sincerity. He reaches out. Slow, like giving me room to flee. His thumb brushes my cheek. Warm, gentle. His forehead lowers to mine. Not demanding, not invasive. Just there. Present. His voice wraps around me, low and reverent. I love your sarcasm. A short breath against my lips. I love your mouth. I go red. He continues, softer. I love your stupid bravery. My heart stumbles. He leans closer. I love the way you look at me when you pretend you don't care. I squeeze my eyes shut. Stop talking like that. You're ruining my bad attitude. He chuckles, quiet, wrecked. I'll ruin all your defenses if it means you stay. My throat closes. Because I want to stay, and I'm terrified of it. His hands cradle my jaw, thumbs sweeping under my eyes, tender in ways he never dared before. I whisper, stay with me then. His breath hitches. I continue, bare, small, trembling. But no lies, no sacrifices, just us. He leans in, forehead pressing to mine again, not claiming, Not conquering, choosing. I'm yours. His voice breaks on the last word. In every lifetime. I don't think. I move. I kiss him. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just trembling, desperate softness. His hand slides to the back of my neck, thumbs cradling my jaw like I'm something precious. The kiss deepens. Slow, reverent, aching. A vow sealed in breath and skin. When we finally part, he whispers against my mouth, "Whatever war comes, we face it together." I nod, resting my forehead against his. Together. His breath shakes. Good, because I will burn this house down before I lose you again. I grin. Romantic arson, how poetic. He smiles. And somewhere beyond this hallway, behind walls and bloodlines and schemes, we won this war. But for the first time since living or dying, I don't feel alone in it. His hand finds mine, warm. Sure. We walked out from the battlefield of a house, together. In the end, I spent years convinced he hated me. I memorized every cold look, every cruel word, every wound he carved into my heart. I thought I was unloved because I was unlovable, disposable, forgettable. But the truth was quieter, darker, and far more terrifying than anger ever could be. He didn't hate me. He loved me so fiercely he burned himself alive to keep me breathing. I mistook silence for cruelty, distance for disgust, sacrifice for neglect. Because I didn't understand that some people love in ways that don't look like love at all. They love like war, like ruin, like desperation. And sometimes the person you think abandoned you was busy bleeding behind a closed door so you didn't have to. So this is what I've learned. For every moment, I thought he despised me. He loved me twice as much. Not gently, not perfectly, but enough to destroy himself. And maybe that isn't a fair kind of love. Maybe it isn't healthy. Maybe it isn't what I needed. But it's real. And it's ours. And I'm still here, alive, because someone once whispered, "I won't let you go," and meant it.